DBS community, welcome back to another video here with Kyle Chris, and today we're going to be going over the next green deck that is coming out in set 22, which is going to be the Goten Gohan leader. I don't know what the actual name of this deck is going to be yet. I know people are saying like Go Bros. I think the name's kind of weird, but I'm sure there's going to be some interesting name that somebody's going to come up with if people end up playing this deck. So, as always, before we get into the deck, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thank you guys for all the support as we continue on towards 2,000 subs. We are getting closer and closer by the day, and be very nice once we actually get there. Might try to figure out something that we can do once we hit 2,000 subs. Not really sure yet what we would be able to do. So the Goten Gohan leader starts off as just Goten, and you have an activate main where you search top 5 for any Son Gohan Adolescence or Son Goten card to your hand. Now this is very cool. I say this a lot, I feel like, but any deck that draws on turn 0 is a very good concept for a deck. So this deck being able to draw turn 0 is fantastic. Also, searching out one green Gohan, Adolescence, or Goten, most of your deck is going to be Gohan and Gotens. So you're going to search out a good majority of your deck with no energy cost requirement. This is very good. When your life's at 4 or less, or you have 2 or more energy, and you have a family Kamehameha emotions delivered in your battle area, you draw 2 and go down to 6 life. And as I said in the Broly video, probably won't say it in any of the other leader videos, is that every leader I believe in the set is they might have a secondary awakening condition, but their primary awakening condition is going to 6 life and drawing 2. So we're not seeing a lot of restand leaders, which I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if they're actually, I think this is probably the weaker type of awakening condition that there is. But if the game is slowing down a little bit, drawing an extra 2 cards and then going down to 6 life isn't a bad thing. It's just kind of interesting. So on the awakened side, we are now actually, before we get to the awakened side, sorry, we're going to go over how you can actually awaken. So we have the family Kamehameha emotions delivered. This is your Z extra card you play out. This actually has a Z stack mechanic where you get to stack this Goku underneath the Z extra card. And then auto for 1 green. When your green card with both Gohan Adolescence and Goten with energy cost of 8 attacks, you get to play this card from underneath it for 1 energy. A little expensive. You have to, so it means you can't play this out till later on in the game. Just kind of strange that you would have to tap another energy to play this card out. Right? Activate battle if your battle card with energy cost of 8 or your leader, both green with both Gohan Adolescence and Goten, is in battle and you remove this card from the game. Your card that is in battle gets 10k and critical for the battle. So these Z extra cards all have some sort of finishing ability to them, which is very cool. Essentially removing some need for the iconic attack rares, those type of things. Other than the actual effects on those cards, these cards are sort of doing the same thing from the Z deck, which is very cool. So the Emotions Delivered Goku, it's a 4-drop, 4k 2-drop deflect. Auto, when this card is played, you get to tap another green, choose up to one of your Super Saiyan, Son Gohan, and Goten Emotions Delivered cards and switch it to active mode. Auto for another green if that card is in battle, and you switch this card to rest mode. When an activate battle skill activates on the family Kamehameha Emotions card, your card that is in battle gets 10k and triple strike for the battle. So this is a lot of energy that you're spending to use these effects on this card. It's very strange. I don't know how to feel about it because I think the effect is really cool. So the Z card will give it 10k in crit, and then the Goku gives it 10k in triple strike. So you're getting plus 20k and triple strike and crit on top of, I think it's like a 30k card already. That's pretty good, but you're having to tap all this extra energy to actually have these effects go off. So it's a little strange. Might make more sense once the deck's actually played, but as of right now, this is a very energy hungry effect. So I don't know how good this particular combo is going to be, but it is there for you to use in the deck. Now we do get to the Awakened side, where this card actually has a lot of text, and this card is actually it does a lot. It's essentially like a yellow version of the Trunks Cheetah deck almost. I mean, a green version of the yellow Trunks Cheetah deck. Auto, when you play a Gohan or Goten card that both cost 6 or more and are green, you draw a card. Active main, play up to 1 Sun Gohan close call or Goten close call from your hand or your drop in rest mode. It doesn't say what the skill is negated. Then activate battle. If you discard 1 card from your hand during that turn, the next time you activate battle on a Sun Gohan or Goten with both green energy cost of 6 from your hand, reduce that skill's cost by 1 green. It's pretty cool. So obviously this will probably make a little more sense once we actually see the cards, but kind of a breakdown over this leader. There's very small points for this deck. This deck is being designed as a green version of Trunks Vegeta, so we'll see if it can have the same sort of effect that Trunks Vegeta does. Trunks Vegeta is a very simplistic yellow deck. Does things very well. Does its own realm of things very well. We'll need to see if the Goten and Gohan leader can actually sort of compete with that on the same level of consistency and what the deck can do. You have a discard effect mid-battle, which if they do print any more when this card is discarded effects, this will do very well in those. And also, you can draw 2 cards each turn without actually attacking with your leader, which is very good because then you're able to build resources and not having to swing to enter battle with your leader to be able to draw cards, which is cool. So if you're going against yellow, being able to tap your leader down for things like Riposte and Vegito without having to lose a draw is pretty powerful, I think. So we're gonna start getting into the actual archetype cards. So we have Sun Gohan and Goten close call. Both of these cards very similar to the Trunks and Vegeta from the Trunks Vegeta matchup. The 1-drop deflects. Instead of barrier, these cards have deflect. When this card's played, you choose one. You either draw one, or you get to play the opposite card from your deck with its skills negated for the turn. That way you don't get the other draw. Now, you can play these off of your Awakened side for free, which is very powerful. So you're basically drawing one for free every turn, and then also establishing. You either get to establish part of your chain, or you can just go into your full chain and then put another one of those cards on board. Now, both of these also have a 4-drop, both building up power. Very cool that they do have the same sort of pose throughout most of these. So both are 15k deflects, both evolve on top of their corresponding smaller version of themselves for 1 green. Then, when both of these cards are played, they do switch to active mode, and then they look up the top 5 cards of your deck. You get to add 1 green Sun Gohan Adolescence or 1 green Sun Goten card to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Then they both have an activate main to play release from power from the top of your deck on top of this card in active mode. So those are the next form of these cards. You actually can play it on top of these cards in active mode, which is released power. So both are 6 drops again. Both can be played from their corresponding cards, as you saw before, on top of them in active mode, or you can play them from the activate battle step on top of their corresponding card. So if you play the Goten on top of Goten, that card will gain double strike for the battle, making it a 20k double strike, while the Gohan gains crit. Now, they both also have another effect, which is Goten's is you place 2 cards from under this card on the drop. If you do, this card gets 5k power for the turn, so you can make it a 25 double strike. That's pretty good. While Gohan, when this card is played, you remove 1 marker, you choose one of your opponent's unisons and remove 2 markers from it. And then if you place 2 cards from under this card in the drop, when this card attacks, your opponent discards 1 card from hand. That's pretty cool. So the one problem with the Gohan is that the Gohan only gains crit if you're swinging with the 4-drop first, which is kind of weird. And then if you play it on top of the Gohan in the activate battle step, you will not get the 2. You get the top effect, the top auto, where you get to take off 2 markers, but you don't get the secondary effect, which is making your opponent discard a card, which is a little rough. But if you play it from previous effect, when you play it from the 4-drop, you'll be able to make your opponent discard, but then you won't gain the crit. So it's a very strange card how they balance this. They made it very fair, a very fair card, where you're not able to just swing 25, 20 crit and then take 2 markers off unison and make your opponent discard a card. You have to kind of choose one or the other. So it makes the card, I would say, less valuable in this deck, and also because there is another 6-drop we actually can go into, which we're going to get into in a second. The Goten, I think Goten's probably the better out of the 2. being a 25k double strike for 1 energy. Regardless of, you have to play it obviously in the battle step. That's fine, because this card doesn't have another play effect, so you're going to want to play the Goten in the battle step every single time if you can. Now, we get to, which I would like to call the manga rares. They're very, very cool, how they have these sectioned off, almost like a manga. It's a very, very cool art. Super Saiyan Son Gohan and Goten battle ready, and then Super Saiyan Son Gohan and Goten emotions delivered. So the 6-drop, when this card is played, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. And then also you can activate this in the battle step to play it on top of a 4-drop Gohan or Goten. And then you draw a card. And this card also has deflect. So this, you're sacrificing the unison removal, as well as the potential to get crit, to just play this on top. And then this card is a draw 2 because of your leader also being able to draw a card once you play this as well. And you get to kill something. So it's a 20k that kills something and then draws you 2 cards. I think this one's a little bit better than the Gohan. Then we have the 8-drop. You can play the 8-drop for 1 if your opponent has 3 or more energy and you have a Z extra card in your battle area. So very unspecific, so you don't need to play this in this particular deck. This is just going to be a good green staple for other decks. When this card attacks, you choose one of your opponent's unisons and remove 2 markers from it. And then auto, when your green Saiyan card deals damage to your opponent, you get to choose one. You get to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it, or your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. Now, a big thing with this card is that you see that it's not limit 1, meaning it is, if you have multiple of these on board and you do proc when a green Saiyan card deals damage to your opponent, you will be able to activate multiple of these cards, which is kind of scary. So you're playing out 30Ks for 1 energy. That can also have other effects on them. So, pretty powerful card. What this deck tells me, if this deck becomes popular, is that any deck that plays the unison, this deck has probably the use between this and the 6-drop Gohan. You probably have some of the easiest removal of unisons you'll see in the game. Like old Gohan, I say old Gohan, but last set Gohan had very easy unison removal with the Gohan effect. But these cards make it even more ridiculous. And the fact that this particular card, this 8-drop, is a generic green card, it's ridiculous. I mean, green is going to be probably the color to play next set as well. So it is very cool to see. Now, so before we get into the deck building part of the video, we'll give you some tips of kind of what you want to expect when you're building this deck and just some things you want to think about. First thing is going to be the engine. The engine of this deck is pretty heavy. You're running 3 sets of 4, essentially, for the 1-drops, 4-drops, and the 6-drops. So you do have to kind of run that. So it's decked slightly bigger than what the Trunks Cheetah deck, the archetype, would be. But it is necessary, and it is part of how your deck actually functions. So you do kind of need to run those, but you need to be able to limit, it does kind of limit the generic aspect of the deck. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind. This deck does have very powerful cycling ability. Again, you're drawing 2 cards, if not more, per turn. So that is a very powerful thing, again, for a green deck to be able to search through a deck like that. The archetype lacks a true finisher. If you look at the 8-drop, it's not an actual true finisher. You can make it a triple strike, crit, 50k, right? But that is, you have to kind of jump through some hoops for that. So we do need to add in some good green finishers, which really shouldn't be a problem. And this deck does have a potential to kind of shift into somewhat of a hand destruction resource removal strat, which is not what we're going to go over in this video, because I think that's a little more complicated, and I'll probably want to look at the deck a little bit more to see where we can actually sort of add in those forms of hand destruction. But for right now, we're going to go over what a good template might look like for this leader. All right, guys, so we have the deck here. I believe we are a 51-card deck, so we're going to go over the deck pretty quickly here, so you guys can see what we have. As you guys can see here, this is so far what we have for the Gohan and Goten deck. Again, 51 cards. I think you can pretty much keep it as close to 50 as possible. Let's kind of go over these cards like kind of one by one here, right? Obviously, with Goten and the Gohan, these are your 1-drops. You're going to want to play these off your leader probably every turn, so you can get a draw. But these also allow you to go into your 4-drop cards, which we also do max out at 4 as well. Now both these cards do search top 5 for a Goten or Gohan green card. So any card that's Goten and Gohan, you can search that as green, you'll be able to find in this deck, which includes the 1-drops, the 4-drops, both 6-drops, and as well as the 8-drop. Now we did add in some cool Goten cards, as well as the Gohan card in here. So Deluge of Power. This is a searchable pseudo super combo that you can search off of the 4-drops and off of your leader, on your unawakened side leader. Being able to give a battle card an extra 5k pump for the turn, making it a 10k combo that also gives a 5k for the battle, for the turn as well. So these cards are very, very ridiculous. I think, as we've seen over the past few, I think probably since like the Sin meta, the Deluge cards have almost become pure staples to every deck now. So people are playing them more and more now. But this card here being searchable in this deck is very, very good. And then we have the Great Saiyan. This is a Gohan Adolescence, so we can actually search this. So this is probably the super combo you're going to want to play. Very good super combo. Bottom deck 1, draw 2. It's slightly better than Paragus in this deck just because it is searchable. So that's why we are going to run this one. We have 4 of the 6-drops on Gotens, and we have 4 of the full playset of the Gohan and Goten. Now you see I'm not running the Gohan here. Again, I don't think the Gohan is necessary. I think if you're running all 3 6-drops, you are actually kind of overpopulating the deck with cards that you may or may not play. I think the Gohan is something to sort of reveal or review as a potential in a more hand destruction version of this deck, which we'll get to in a different video. I think I actually am going to make, it's probably one of the first times I actually make another deck profile video for a new deck, just because I think there's a very interesting avenue you can go with making this deck highly focused on hand destruction. But you have the 20k 6-drop here. Because this also counts as a Gohan, you can actually use this to evolve on top of the 4-drop Gohans as well. So this gives you a 2-draw effect, and then also being able to KO something is, again, pretty powerful. We have 2 Kaiokens. This is a card you're probably going to see in any green deck going forward. It's been out for a while, and because of the Gohan deck, this card has jumped up in price and being a crazy staple now for green. If you don't have it, unfortunately you don't have it, but I think it's necessary to round out some of the tech spots in your deck. It's not a necessary card for the deck to be good, but it is necessary for you to have, the best possible tech card in this slot. Being a 1-drop 15k that has crit and makes your opponent discard a card, again, this is probably going to be a much more identifiable value piece in the Gohan hand destruction version of the deck that will probably release here in a few weeks. So this is a really cool tech here. So Frieza Army Healing Pod. So what's cool about this card is when you play a green battle card from your drop, you get to draw 1. Now the leader plays a Gohan or Goten from your hand or your drop in rest mode. So essentially, once you play this card, this allows all of your 1-drops to become draw 2s. So essentially you are now the green version of Trunks Vegeta, because that deck was able to draw 2 every single turn. But you're also drawing more cards. You're drawing 2 cards for free every turn. This is very powerful. This card is probably going to go, if this deck ends up doing well, I think. There's also a reprint of this card, so this card shouldn't be incredibly expensive, but if people buy it out, sorry, it's a very cool tech, so people definitely should be running this in the Gohan Goten builds. Unfortunately, it's not searchable, so you can't actually search it out. You can just charge it later on. You also can pitch it off of your leader effect. If you end up drawing them in your hand, you can just get rid of them. There are good pitch targets to activate your leader effects to make your 6-drops cost 0, or the next one cost 0. Also, as a secondary effect, for 4 energy, 2 green, and 2 colorless, you place this card in the drop, and you can play up to 1 battle card that costs 4 from your drop. Now, there's not a lot of 4-drop battle cards if you run in this deck, but there's one particular that actually gives you a very powerful way to finish games, which is going to be the Son Gohan and Goten Familia Bonds. This is a very old card. It's not super playable in other decks. It's actually kind of a hard card to play out. So this is a 20k alliance. The alliance effect is essentially if you tap down a green or red card, this card gains the power equal to the card or cards that was rested to fulfill this cost. So if you tap down, let's say, I don't know, let's say you tap down this guy, you'll gain 35k power, right? But the interesting part about this card is when this card is played, activate this skill, and for the duration of the turn, when your opponent uses a skill to play a battle card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their life and places them in the drop area. So your opponent can't really floodgate you at all. They have to use extra card negates. They can't use token negates. They can't use like Defending Friends and Mecha Freeze, Robotic Riposte. They can't use any of these effects. When this card hits the board, this effect triggers, so it doesn't matter if they play like Yellow Sin. That will just negate the alliance effect. Will not negate the auto. They can't T-blow it. They have to negate the skill before it comes into play. That makes this card incredibly ridiculous to deal with, because once it hits the board, the effect goes off, and now your opponent you basically like super Koizukai your opponent. And most decks are playing battle card negates, so this card ends up becoming really good. But also, what's cool about this card is searchable off of every card that searches off a Gohan or a Goten. Your leader, both of your 4-drops. Search Gohan and Gotens. You're able to literally see every single card. You're going to see this card at some point, which is why we only run 2. Another interesting part about this deck is that you can actually run Piccolo Gohan Secret Rare, which is pretty fascinating. So if your leader is a yellow leader, if your leader is a yellow leader, a Sun Gohan Adolescence, or a Piccolo card, so you can actually play this card in this deck because you are a Gohan Adolescence. So this is very cool. So this actually gives you another way of I don't say finishing games, but you can now turn your triple strike crit guy into, you can buff him by another, 30k. That's pretty good, right? But also being able to turn your Gohan and Goku attack here into a 60 double strike for 0 energy. 65k double strike for 0 energy is pretty powerful as well. I think this is probably probably the better secrets for this deck, because it has the ability to run this card, which gives green a very interesting defensive tool now. Or it gives this deck a very easy defensive tool by being able to just out-combo certain things, which is, I think, very, very cool. It's not searchable, unfortunately. All the other cards that search out Gohans search out green Gohans, so you can't search it out, but being able to use it is still, I think, pretty powerful. We have 2 of the Goku and Gohan father-son solidarities. This is one of your big boss monsters. You can also run Faded Rivals. I think both of those targets are very good. This card, just being able to KO something, ignoring barrier, and discard a card, I think is very powerful. Also getting barrier. You can also just slot this out for Faded Rivals if you want to. I think they both do very similar things. I don't think this card's as popular or as problematic, maybe is the right word, in any other deck other than Gohan because of the burn effect. But it's still a good target, so if you want to play it, you can. If not, you can put in Faded Rivals. It's going to do practically the same thing, just increased 1 on the hand destruction portion of it. So again, like in the hand destruction version of the deck, we might end up playing more of this card, but this one I think 2 is good. We have 4 of the Emotions Delivered. I think this card is incredible. Being a 1-drop, you can play after turn 3. And then this card's gonna remove your opponent. Basically not gonna be able to have a Unison, which does kind of suck for the deck that I play. But this is just gonna remove Unisons very, very quickly. And then if you deal a damage to your opponent, this card's gonna force your opponent to drop a card or get to KO something else on board. So if you have multiple of these on board, they will all trigger at the same time, and you should be able to do the effects. I don't think it's gonna just trigger one and then it deletes the other ones. It's not limit 1. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah. 8-drop, searchable, very good card. Then we have defense, 3 of the homicidal clones, and 4 of the unusing awakened raids. This card's just really good. Obviously, you can't use the bottom effect because your leader's not a Gohan, but you can use the first effect, which will negate. And you also can pitch a card to floodgate them, and you can pitch another card if you want to make it free. Now, that's probably not what you're going to want to do. You're probably just going to kind of do the dormant thing, negate, and then pitch 1 for the effect, but still you have the option to do it, which is good. So the Z deck, so this card here is actually going to be the Z extra card. I realize that DBS Deck Planet still does not have Z extra cards put into their database, so this is actually 2 of the Z extra card. I think 2 is good because it's not really a finishing card, so so to speak. You're giving a card crit. You can use it in tandem with the Goku to make it crit triple strike, but you don't have to do that. We have 1 Frieza and then 2 of the Broly's. Broly's probably gonna be the better specific 1 and 2 drop green Z cards going forward. It's probably just gonna be the best one you're gonna use. Pop a card to play it for 1, and then pop another card to kill something, and then also making a 25k double strike for 1 energy is very, very good. I would say it's like on the level of like the Black Blue Z battle card. So, but that is the Gohan and Goten deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of the spice we did throw in this video. Stay tuned for, we will end up doing a hand instruction version of this deck. I don't know where I'll post it. Because that might be a deck that, although I don't own any of the green cards realistically, I can probably build it, and I think the hand instruction version of this deck might be slightly better. But we're definitely going to try to test it and see if that is the case. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys are excited about this leader, maybe you're excited about the Broly, maybe you're excited about another leader, let me know down below in the comments. As always, thank you guys for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.